What's up, Ranch Nation? It's your boy Silver Ranch here. I got a very special project for y'all today, for me, that I'm making for y'all. You're probably wondering what this is, because I've only ever done an EP breakdown once, and when that happened, I hadn't even hit 500 subscribers yet. I think I was like 450 at the time. And this project means a lot to me. Most of y'all are probably wondering, what is this? Who is this? The story about this EP goes to a guy named McCutcheon, a composer and just a talented, just all around musical genius. I essentially, how this happened is I crossed paths with him for a screening of the documentary which is titled of this EP, which is The Ocean 5 Years. This EP dropped back in 2023, and I watched the documentary May, like early-ish May. And this sort of project really, actually it was the very end of April. I think it was like the last or second to last day of April. And so I agreed to go to this screening, and at the time I was stressed with finals and I didn't really want to go, and I was kind of dreading it. And then I told myself, documentaries are something you've always wanted to do with your life. Make an effort to go. This guy put so much time and effort into this, along with the crew, him, his family, and everyone who worked with to make this project happen. You owe it to him, to everyone at Flying Scooter Productions, and to his family, to go to something like this, because it sounded like an important deal, a very, very big deal. So I agreed. I went, and honestly, I was not expecting to get really emotional with this one. I got blindsided, essentially, like straight double hook to the jaw, and like 5 shots to the chest. I felt like I got hit by a bus with how deep this project was and how much of an impact it had on me. So that, mixed with actually sitting down and kind of talking with him, texting him a little bit here and there, and playing his song on the radio, this EP really has had like an impact. Like it holds a lot to me, like close to my chest, that I feel like I owe it to kind of talk about this and kind of break this EP down and like give my thoughts and reactions on this. So I'm going to jump into this. I got a pretty long list of points that I'm going to talk about, and for reference, I guess I do kind of want to talk about this. So The Ocean 5 Years goes into details. It's pretty dark. It's a very emotional EP, because the context for this was when Brett wrote the original Ocean. It was not long after his older brother Ryan passed away in a car crash at just 19, which is it's brutal to think about. And like, my heart goes out to his family, to him, to whoever was friends with both of them, because I can't imagine how tough that is, losing someone, like, whether if it's a family, friend, or just anyone close to you at that young. I just can't imagine it. And the story he tells with this, I truthfully think, really hit me in a place that I didn't expect, despite never really going through and ever kind of experiencing these emotions, never really feeling true loss of someone close, like really close to me, like the same way, probably like the way Brett probably felt with Ryan, like straight up. So I'm going to be breaking down each song here and giving my thoughts, my reactions, and my feelings. So I hope you all enjoy this. And please leave support by liking, commenting, subscribing. And I'm sorry for this being late, because it was supposed to be the 700 special. And at the time of recording this, I'm only 12 subscribers away from 800. So I'm going to do my best to get this out before 800. So let's jump right into this. So the intro is like this opening of like what, like kind of looking at him currently in the present, and look like I love it because at the opening he kind of has this like opening shot of like staring at the ocean from the shoreline. And what's gonna be tough here is I didn't listen to the original Ocean. I really, really wanted to just listen to this raw from like what I've listened to, and like talk about like what I listened to through this specific experience. So I love this song. I love the way the intro opens. It's really soft. It's simple, but it gets your attention. And it's one of two songs that really doesn't have any lyrics. The last one does have a little bit of lyrics, but it's primarily just orchestra. And it's the same way with the intro. We're with intro. Because a lot of it's just soft little hums and just noises that June makes mixed with this beautiful orchestra. If you're wondering, this will be a big thing I talk about. For the Ocean 5 years, he brought in the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra. And folks, I can't begin to tell you how talented this group of artists are. The reason I want to point this out, I was trying to remember. Pittsburgh's just such a talented orchestra, and honestly, they are so they're so accomplished. They are just phenomenal, and they honestly, while they're not rated in the top 10 or for like the most popular or well-known orchestras in America, they are so unbelievably talented that I truthfully think they are. And so that I think is important because he took a big leap and a big risk working with very talented, very professional, versus like, you know, people who are more independent. Like working with an orchestra, it's very time constrained, it's very stressful. And what I love about this, I think having that added this really grand yet really emotional, like I think wouldn't have conveyed the same emotion getting just individual people to try to work together for a symphony, or like get a smaller group that you would find on maybe social media or working out and running solo. I think you get such a strong level of not just professionalism but just overall beauty that comes from this group. So I wanted to start with that because when you listen to the opening of the intro, it feels like something you listen to at like the start of the movie, at like a start of a movie. Like the best way to describe it, like you listen to this and you would picture like this main character, and they're getting further and further away from the shore, and they're only seeing the water around them while they're on like a ship or something. And I feel like what I really love with that as well, again, there's no words, there's no lyrics for this song, and I think that's so underrated sometimes because we get lost in a world full of words, words, meaning, and sometimes we overanalyze the beauty of what songs are. And I think that's what this song, it wants to convey this feeling of like going back and like kind of feeling like listening to old memories. And like something that I think is interesting is like the way this song ends is like this ringing of like church bells and chimes that's like that like it does such a good job transitioning into the next song, Sinking. But more importantly, it feels like that sort of feel with like I don't know why I thought about this, it makes me think of Time by Pink Floyd, like that constant ringing and then like the circling of the clock that makes you kind of think back to like old memories and like almost reminiscing. It's two different, completely different moods of what these songs do, but I truthfully believe that this song sets the tone for what is a very powerful EP. So going into the second song, which is Sinking, this felt like, to me, it like kind of goes into like this first stage of grief, which, if you're wondering what the stages of grief are, it's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. I think is the order of what it goes, of how it goes, and it's almost like a cycle. You don't just go through it once and then you never experience it again. Certain phases last longer. You could fall back into other phases. You could be angry one day and go all the way to being depressed, and then go back to being angry before wanting to deny it again, before finally working around to try and accept it, and kind of fall back into the cycle. It's a cycle, unfortunately. And I think the way this song works is like, it feels like you hear the sound of like waves crashing, like I said, like into this boat that's set up with being in with intro. You're kind of sailing out away from land, and it feels like the waters are starting to get stormy and murky, and you feel that with the way Sinking is. And it's the first song that shows off like June's vocals with actual lyrics, and I think she does such a great job, because what I love truthfully about this is June's got like this super soft and melodic sound, while Chris has more harmonies and power and pitch. Not pitch, but punch. That's what I mean. Where June is more melodic and it's pitch, and it's just straight up emotion of what she can do. I think they complement each other so well throughout this song. And I think what I also think is important is Brett, while putting this together, he did such a great job, like not just tracking their vocals, but mixing them down, because when they're blended together, they sound distinct, but they mesh together in what feels like perfect harmony with the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra. And that's what I like about this song, is and throughout this EP, it feels like each song kind of talks about its own stage of grief, sort of, to a degree, because the ocean feels like you're kind of going back, and you're like almost bargaining with like nature and life to try and like get his brother back, get those good memories back. Whereas Sinking, it's like, it's denial. He doesn't want to accept that this happens, and it in the song, June talks about wanting to keep those memories, and talking about how a clock sounds like for lost time. In specific, there's a line that really sticks with me, which is, a place that doesn't cost a dime but can get lost in time. And it's this constant feeling of hurt and pain and anguish that comes with losing someone close. And in some cases, it can sink people into depression, and in worse, spiral into behavior and attitudes that sometimes can ruin and destroy lives. It's what makes life so tough, is genuinely, how do you respond to adversity? We're all human at the end of the day, and losing someone close to you is the worst feeling in the world. And I think Sinking does that great job, giving like this super somber feeling with the piano and strings, and it just, there's something there that sets the tone the right way going into the third song. Going into the third song, which is The Bottom. This one, so the way, I don't want to spoil anything with the documentary, but he kind of breaks each part of it down with the name of each song. And between watching the video of the documentary and then listening to The Bottom, I listened to The Bottom I listened to all the songs after, like the very next day, or actually literally an hour after the documentary aired. I sat in the TV station, I listened to The Bottom, and I'm gonna be honest, I broke down and I cried for about 5 to 7 minutes. It got me. This one, not only was it just super grand, because literally they mixed everything there. You had vocal, strings, percussion, woodwind, and brass, like all of it. You had everything in there, and it gave such a grand and almost weirdly not upbeat, but like I said, it gave off this really grand feel. At one point, it's funny. Professor who I love at the school, his name's Don Ma. He talked about the fact that none of these songs were written in minor. They were all written in major, which you wouldn't really expect with songs like The Bottom and Drowning. Or Sinking. Apologies. Not Drowning. Sinking. You wouldn't think that with those two songs. But they are. They're in major. And I think that's such an unbelievable detail that I don't think a lot of people are going to catch. And honestly, I didn't catch it until he said it. But I wanted to talk about that because I think that's important. I think this song uses the most out of June's voice. And her voice mixed with those instruments, it broke me down. Because I picture Brett kind of writing this when he was at the lowest in his life. When everything felt like it was going wrong and he wanted to lean on someone, which was his brother, and he wasn't there. And it talks about like and the reason I say this is because it talks about sinking to the bottom of the ocean. You know, there's no light around him. He's surrounded in darkness. He feels like he can't move forward. And what makes this so tough, and I'm really fighting this right now while trying to talk about this, because it really just, this song hit me in such an emotional way. And I truthfully believe what makes this song stick out so well is how he navigated feeling at the lowest of his, the lowest point of his life. And you know what it also made me think about, and this is why I did this. When I listened to The Bottom, I broke down, and I really broke down. And for people wondering, I have broken down one time on my channel. And it was a song called Who Am I by Daddy Fat Snaps featuring Gen. But I talked about in the EP breakdown how 2 songs before I listened to the last song of that EP hit me as hard as it did. And those songs were I'm Sorry by Joyner Lucas and Who Am I by Daddy Fat Snaps featuring Gen. And the reason I talk about that is that since then, there's 2 more songs that have really stuck with me like that. What's the Worst That Could Happen by Schwabity, and Monsters by James Blunt. I pictured this, like I said, I talked about this already, but it really felt like he wrote this when he felt like he was at rock bottom. And you could hear it with the tone of June's voice. You could hear it with this with this grand feel of the trumpets and the brass kind of doing a lot of the heavy lifting, it felt like, with the strings to kind of drive the emotion of this song. And I really thought about this because there was a quote I found. I think it was by an author named Monty Williams, or actually it was by a basketball coach named Monty Williams. He said, "It's just life. You have to be able to get up, face your flaws, and just whatever it is, take a step, an inch, and just keep moving forward." It's one of the hardest things in life, is when you feel like you're at the bottom and you're drowning and there's no hope around you. It's hard, but you have to find that way to take, even if it's the slightest step, just taking that slight step forward helps you learn to deal with grief. Which again, this kind of felt like this feeling of depression, that you're stuck, that you don't know how to process things, that you feel like there's nowhere for you to go. and you feel that like it's overwhelming. I think that's what this song was trying to do. It's meant to overwhelm you and hit you right where it hurts, which is your heart and your soul. So going into the fourth song, Floating was one that I honestly think it's the most soulful song of the album. There's so much beauty with this, from the harmonizing of the vocals, the soft piano that rides the crescendo to the end, where I talk about with the soft piano and the switching from Chris to June's vocals. It left me honestly speechless. Because one thing I've always loved is beautiful contrast. And that's what I think this album, again, I think does so well. I kind of like cycling back between talking about the whole, or I keep saying album, EP, that the whole EP does such a phenomenal job with is, I've always been a fan of amazing contrast. From soft to big moments. I've been a band player most of my life. So I like rises and falls. I like crescendos and build-ups into soft cuts. And sometimes just a little bit of silence. And that's what I think really stuck with me, along with, there was this one line that really, really stuck with me, which was the opening of the chorus, which she said, "Although I can only see you when I'm dreaming about you." And like she talks about, it feels like I'm drowning when I'm there regardless, like if you're there regardless. That, it feels like even though he's trying to find this hope, that he's still sinking back down and he's gonna hit the bottom again and not find a way up. This song does such a good job to like almost symbolize this person who is here to literally lift him up out of the bad thoughts, the bottom of the ocean, and put him back on the shore. And it really feels like, it felt like something to honor those who we have lost. And I think something that really stuck with me was at the very end of the song, "And you'll guide me while I'm fighting. You are all I need to fight the tide." That stuck with me so long because it kind of talks about like, you got me out of the lowest now, so you can now you can rest. I'll make my way back to the shore. I'll make my way out of this mess. But you, having those thoughts and like those close memories, you keep them and you never forget them, but you use them to work and kind of build yourself up. That's why that quote from Monty Williams stuck with me so long. It's like, no matter where you go, it just takes that one step forward. And it really, really stuck with me through this. And between the really good writing and one thing that always stuck with me through this was the piano. That piano, I think, honestly, throughout this entire EP, I think lost between the beautiful vocals from Chris and June, this grand, powerful orchestra, is this melodic piano that I honestly think bridges the gap between everything else in this song. Within this song and in this EP. I honestly think if he did not put that piano in, I think a lot of parts emotionally wouldn't have felt the same. Honestly. So I think that was such a nice detail from him. And I think this song sets everything up to go into the last song, which is The Shore. So going into the final song, The Shore, this was the most grand song in terms of everything. I feel like it's like a culmination of all these other four songs pushed into one, with other distinct points that make this song stand up on its own without feeling like a rehash of everything. And it, like the first song, one thing that's like similar to the first song is there is essentially no lyrics. There's like maybe 1 out of 7 minutes that have lyrics. Maybe it's a little more, but out of 7 minutes of the song, I think at most 2 have lyrics. But one that stuck was, at what point did you become the older sibling? That that was like a knife right through the chest because I was not ready to hear that. That tore up my soul. And what made it worse was like that hold, that long, like what felt like 3 or 4 bars of just that whole note from the clarinet that decrescendos out into Chris's voice. And again, this is the only song that really you would hear Chris kind of be the driving force of. And while it's not long and there's not many words to it, I feel like Chris's voice was perfect for this. Like the softer, lower tones that rise into the orchestra coming back in and driving the rest of this song to the end. And then it ends with this soft piano that I truthfully think wraps everything up in a nice bow. And the whole point of this is that throughout this whole thing, we start out, we're walking into the water and to like look back at things, but we get dragged in. We're sinking to the bottom, and we hit the bottom, and we don't know where to go. But we find a way to take, like, that's why I love that quote so much from Monty Williams, is we take that step forward. We climb our way out of the water. We float our way back up, and then we hit the shore. One thing I feel like that really stuck with me was at the very end, and he talks about this in the documentary. I'm not going to go in full detail, but I'm trying to keep a lot of that spoiler free. But one detail he talked about that I wanted to highlight was he talks about seeing an image of the Cliffs of Moher. I apologize if I butchered that name. It's out in Ireland. I think my parents actually got to see it, but he talked about seeing that picture and kind of how he viewed like the shore in a sense. Like comes out, but he still sees this big. Like you see all these cliffs above you, and I kind of asked him. I was like, "Would you consider this process to be like a climb as well? Like that even like when you got out of the shore, that you're still climbing up to try to reach the top?" And I forget his response, but I want to say it was something like kind of. What really stuck with me with that was I looked at that picture again, and I'll show it right here. Something that's always stuck with me about this image is, I'm actually pulling up right now, but something that's always stuck with me with this is like, when you look at certain times, there's no shore. There's really no shore. But at other times, you can look at the image, and you'll see this beautiful shore with the waves crashing onto it. And I feel like the reason this stuck with me is that you could look at this song from 2 different perspectives. You could look at it as climbing out of the water and having to climb up the mountain, or climb up these cliffs to try to get back to civilization, which is like this recovery process of being with, like, getting around friends, finding your hobbies again, building yourself up to be that person that you were before, but you come out as this more emotionally stronger and able to be more emotionally vulnerable. Or, as I talked about the spiraling a bit, it comes to the point where like you're standing at the top of the cliff and it feels like the only way you can go is off of it. And having someone to talk you off that ledge, or sometimes it's music. And that's where I think the shore kind of puts a giant bow on this. It kind of asks this question of, like, did I do this right? Did I make my brother proud? And that grief is never, as I talked about it, it's almost like a cycle, but it's not perfect like that. You don't just go through each phase the same way. You don't kind of cross it like a line. It's not linear. You may never experience certain stages. You may be stuck in certain stages for a long time. You may fall back to earlier stages. You may feel like you're all the way at acceptance, and you have days that drive you back to being angry or depressed or denying that this happened again. And that's okay. Because this song is like a coming of age moment. It's like almost like a come to Jesus moment, sort of, and like how you view and how you kind of take moments, take adversity, and be able to battle through it. And that's truthfully where I think this EP shines the most. From the beautiful orchestra to June and Chris's just unbelievable vocals to that piano, which again is the unsung hero throughout this entire thing. It bridges everything perfectly, honestly. I can't recommend this EP enough, folks. It really, if you're not the type who likes stuff that's emotional and deep, you won't like it. You won't. It'll hit you where you don't want it to hit you, right in your emotions. But I think that's the beauty of something like this, is that we all need to take that time to be vulnerable, to be honest, to be there with each other, because moments like this can really mess up people's mental health. And I'll be the one to say this, I feel like we have a mental health crisis in this country sometimes. So having things like mental health months are really important to me, because I've gone through cycles of being upset, depressed about life. It happens. No person's perfect. And at the end of the day, I will forever be proud of who I am. Having EPs like this, I truthfully think show me something important. And the importance of everybody is that sometimes the strongest people go through the worst stuff in life, but more importantly, life is never easy. Like, straight up, if life was easy, nobody would suffer. What I think is beautiful about it is adversity can sometimes mold the best people, and that's truthfully what happened here with Brett. I think this experience, like this horrible tragedy, molded him into someone who is as honest, genuine with people as you could ever imagine. And I got that with him from just essentially two conversations on text and one interaction with him. And I felt like I've talked to him for like a year. That's how genuine someone like this is, because he put together productions like this that made him be this emotionally vulnerable. So at the end of the day, this is such an unbelievable EP, and I hope honestly I did this justice, because it's been one I've racked with my brain for a while, and there were takes I didn't show that I cried. There were a lot of takes where I felt like I didn't say the right thing. I originally was recording this on Reaper, and I just didn't like how I was going about it. It felt too scripted, so I literally took that script, I threw it in the trash. Well, I essentially threw it in the trash and made bullet points, because the best way I can be genuine about this is going right from here. I can't begin to thank you guys enough, because again, this will probably be, knowing me, this will be out before I even hit after I hit 800. But I never ever thought I'd get this far on YouTube, and moments like this make me grateful to have the platform, have the ability to be open with you guys and talk with you about this stuff. Life is tough, and what builds the strongest people is being able to take those moments, and when life knocks you down, you find that way to take the slightest step forward, no matter what it is. So thank you guys for watching this video, whether if it was for 5 seconds, the whole thing, half of it, whatever it was. I can't begin to express how grateful I am. As I'm almost to 800, I look back on this back in May, when when I recorded this, I think I maybe had just hit 600, or like 605 or something like that. And I think I was like right before 600. I never thought I'd even hit 500. And now I'm somehow 12 subscribers away from 800. and I can't begin to express how grateful I am because you guys do this for me. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave support by dropping a like, comment, subscribe to become part of the Ranch Nation while turning on that bell for notifications so you don't miss out on Ranch Reactions, gaming, commentary, music, my podcast, Nerds on the Mic. I did an awesome interview with Ben Schuler. I think you all would really like it. Vlogs, EP breakdowns, or anything else I drop on this channel, because all the love and support that y'all leave, it really does mean the world to me. It gets me closer to being able to make a little bit of a living off this, because you guys here at the Ranch Nation, you guys make this happen. You guys show up and leave support every day, and no amount of thank yous could ever express how grateful I am. So I love you all truthfully from the bottom of my heart. Brett, I love you, bro. You are such a genuine guy. I'm so glad I got to do this. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I did this justice. I really do. And from everyone at the Ranch Nation, I hope you all have a great rest of your day or night, and take care. If I do hit 800, I guess here's to another 200 and hopefully to 1,000. Possibly by the end of summer, or especially for me by the end of 2025. So, out of the way, I'm gonna get out of here. From the Ranch Nation, I love, appreciate, and cherish every single one of y'all. And I'm out. Peace.